Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to another Sunday video here. I'm excited to be back and talking more markets with you. We are going to be going through some of the key charts and markets that I will be looking out for this week. In case you're new to my channel, each week on Sunday, I do a video like this where I basically go through some markets that I'll be watching, things like the US dollar, the gold market, different currency crosses that I plan on watching and looking for setups in the week ahead. So if you are new here, I want to invite you to remember to like the video and subscribe down below if you want to see more of this sort of content. By liking and subscribing, you're telling YouTube that you want to see more free trading content, and they'll probably serve you up some more of that. It's funny how good those search algorithms are these days. So anyways, let's take a look at some of the market stuff here for the week ahead. Now, I do want to start with the dollar, but before I do, let me just show you guys this really quick. So we are looking at forexfactory.com. We can take a quick look here at the week ahead in terms of news, and what you've noticed is you've got a lot of red folders here. So lots of stuff coming up here this week. Some of the key ones that stick out to me, you've got core retail sales on Tuesday. Looks like we'll have a quiet Monday. And then you have things like the Fed speaking, or Powell speaking, on Tuesday, and on Wednesday we've got the Fed meeting. Both of those things have the potential to really be money or money markets moving, I guess. And then you've got NZD rate statements as well. You've got unemployment for Australia. So I would say that the mid half of the week, or the mid part of the week, looks very, very busy. So keep an eye on your charts. Keep an eye on any of these. If you look at the dollar, the New Zealand, the Aussie, all of those have the potential. And of course, Canada with CPI and GBP with CPI definitely have the potential to really move off of those figures. Okay, so I think that this week is going to be a big one for the US dollar, as it seems every week these days. Especially with monetary policy stuff coming up. Whenever you get something with the Fed speaking, it has the potential to really move the US dollar, the stock market, etc. So let's start here at the dollar. Now, I do want to show you guys something that kind of happened last week. You guys may have already noticed this, but we did have a nice strong double top there for the sellers coming in towards the end of the week. On Friday, we had a major sell-off here on the US dollar. And if you guys remember, if you watched some of the content that I was putting out, or the live streams last week, I mentioned that this sell-off here looked like it may have been a bearish engulfing pattern. If you did take that trade, then congrats to you. That looks really good, meaning, you may not have traded the DXY per se, but maybe you would have used this signal as some form of a trigger to look for other setups on US dollar crosses. If you did, then great. I had a couple people inside of our private Discord talk about their USDJPY shorts, which I'm sure we'll take a look at here today in the video. Let's keep going. We'll take a look at some of the individual currency pairs. Now, we're going to start with the Euro USD. Now, I mentioned that the dollar looked pretty weak going into the end of the week. That could continue up until Tuesday, Wednesday, when we have some fresh news. So I did want to talk about this a little bit. Now, you do see that the Euro USD is pulling back pretty aggressively. We had the dollar strength come in. The dollar weakness come in, which caused the euro to strengthen, relatively speaking. Now, is this something that I would be buying? Personally, I would be sort of on the sidelines here. I do think that we have the potential to pull back a little bit more. Let me change that color around to black. There we go. So I think that the euro dollar is still sort of sell biased for me. And we do seem to be topping out. You can see the RSI printing a nice little overbought reading. You've also got price action looking a little extended here. But for me, this thing has been quite heavily sold off. And we just bounced off, if you put it all in context, we bounced off a major longer term level of support. Let me show you the daily chart and you can see what I mean. We had a major level of support get tagged recently on the Euro USD down there at 1.17 range, or somewhat close to it. And then we had the little pop the end of the week there. So I think that that has the potential to continue higher a little bit here, especially if you think that dollar bearishness is set to continue. You may see a pullback to this trend line here. You may even see a deeper retracement if we get our fibs out. You can see from the top of this move to the bottom of this move, we still have plenty of room to go if we do want to do a full-on retracement to something like the 38.2, right? So that's what I would say with the euro dollar. I am holding off on trying to rush to short this thing by any means, and we'll keep an eye on that going into the next week or so. We'll see how that plays out. Next up, we'll take a look at GBPUSD. This one sort of mixed. I would say that, longer term, you still do have this sort of uptrend, very, very strong bullish bias overall. We did see price come down and check this, basically come and tap that 200-day moving average, which does seem very, very interesting. Now, if you guys remember from the live streams, if you're watching with me on the live streams, I pointed out something about the pound dollar that I would love to see play out. From a bullish perspective, I pointed out that a breakout here of this downward channel would be very, very interesting. And there's a bigger context to it. Let me share this with you. Let me see if I can get my patterns going. I'll go to the head and shoulders, go here. It's a very ugly head and shoulders, so bear with me here. But the idea being that if we put in this little higher low, it is possible that we could be seeing some form of a reversal on the pound dollar. Now, again, this is a very, very ugly head and shoulders pattern. But the general idea of a head and shoulders pattern is just a lower low, and then a higher low that shows an increase in demand and a possibility of a new trend occurring. Now, the pound dollar has sort of been on a weak cycle here recently. And so for me, I think that if the dollar weakness continues, then pound dollar may actually be a great candidate to look for long side action, especially on a breakout of this key spot here. So for me, looking at the pound dollar going into this week, I am watching closely for potential bullishness, not really interested in bearishness right here or selling anything on the pound dollar. I do think that the pound has the potential to really do quite well, especially with their sort of fast vaccine rollouts and handling of the pandemic. They've done quite well. Whereas, you have other places like the US and parts of Asia that are really concerned about the Delta variant and the potential, detrimental impacts to their economies, right? So, that is something to consider. We saw the UK really, really outperform during some of the pandemic stuff. Here is the pound dollar right here. During that time, you can see did very, very well. And so, if we do see a scenario like that in repeat fashion, there may be opportunities, in my view, to look for long side action on the pound, looking for continuation. Now, your first stop, if we do see long side, if you are bullish on the pound dollar, keep an eye on some of these levels here. You've got resistance up there at 1.39, big resistance up there at 1.4, where you've got sort of that big psychological level as well as this key spot here. So whole bunch of resistance once we get up to that point. But I do think that if you're an intraday trader or a swing trader, there may be opportunities to look for upside this week on the pound dollar should we see dollar weakness continue. So a trade scenario that I personally like. By the way, before we get too far into the video, I do want to remind you guys, there is a chance for you to join the Discord and get 25% off. If you're not familiar with what the Discord is, our community and our staff here in Atlanta, we offer a community for traders in Discord. So you can access our chat rooms. You get access to all the trade alerts being sent. So if I take a trade, for example, on the pound dollar, you will see the trade with full details, entries, stop losses, all that sort of stuff, updates on the trades. So if you want to see the trades that I am taking, as well as our other analysts, Frank and Patrick, you can join the Discord down below in the description. Get 25% off using the promo code that is down there for you. It is YTVIP. You just plug that in. It takes off 25% of your membership with us. Also, you can join our live coaching webinars. We do strategies and sort of concept conversations and discussions within our group. So if you are looking to join that sort of stuff, if that sounds like it would be helpful to you, then I encourage you, try it out down below. You try it out for a month. If you don't like it, then by all means, you don't have to stay. But plenty of our members come for a month and they stay for a long period of time because of the great value that they get from our team of traders and our staff here in Atlanta. So again, check it out down below in the description if you would like to join. So with that said, I do like the pound dollar long side. What about dollar yen? Now, dollar yen, I mentioned that some of the traders inside of our Discord caught some of the sell side action on dollar yen here. And that was sort of, we had the discussion about a range-bound dollar yen and how that looks like it is set to continue for the time being. You can kind of see that we've just been seeing these, sort of back and forth rallies on the dollar yen. We saw a little bit of a fake out to the downside there. You can see we came down and tagged 108.8 before finding a big bull rally. But then I did caution in our live stream this week. I said, hey, just be cautious as dollar yen comes up to the top of this range. We do still have sort of the Delta variant risk off looming, which could be strong for the yen, which would cause this chart to go down. Because remember, when we were looking at USD, JPY, if we're saying that yen strength could continue, then that would say that the dollar yen, this currency pair, would go down, right? And so we also have been sort of hesitant on the dollar yen recently. I did mention that I would have liked to look at dollar yen a little closer on the long side if we saw a strong break above this 110.7 level, but we did not get that. We actually saw price reject this area very strongly. And if you remember that bearish engulfing idea that I shared earlier on in the video and in my streams, I talked about something like this, and it does look like that scenario has played out beautifully so far. So if you did catch any of that sell side action on dollar yen, then a big congrats to you. Like I said, I really liked the signal here once you had this strengthening uptrend that was sort of peaking out, declining a little bit there, and came into a big level of resistance in combination with sort of just risk off concerns and a little bit of over excitement on the US dollar, in my opinion. This created a really nice short setup. So nice little downside there on the dollar yen. Looks like to me it could head right on back down to 109.3. It seems like a reasonable area for targets or for price to continue should we see dollar weakness stay there coming into this next week. So nice little setups and concepts there to look out for on the dollar yen. Next up, we will take a look at USDCHF. We'll take a look at the Swiss franc here for a moment. You can see this one also selling off, not quite as much as the dollar yen, but also finding a lot of resistance and putting in sort of a lower high, if you will, here on the move. So where are we at with this one? Well, this one is really just stuck in a range for me as well. If you are bullish on this pair, I would say, key spot to look for would be, of course, the breakout of the past resistance. And now even just a breakout of this spot here where we saw a lot of sellers come in on Friday. So a couple things to look out for there. You also do have a longer term trend line to consider. Should things really sell off and you are a dollar Swiss bull, you may see opportunities to get cheaper discount prices before the next try at a push higher. So I would say that this move has the potential to continue, but if it does sell off, there may be a point to look for some form of a bounce, etc., on the dollar Swiss. Okay, next up is gold. Gold is everyone's favorite, and some of you guys may know that I am long on gold at 1703. I pointed this out inside of our Discord. I shared my trade and now have locked in a pretty good bit of profit on this trade. I'm very happy with how this one has played out so far. I basically went long, shared it with members, said, I think it was, let me see if I can recreate what it kind of looks like. I basically at 1703 took the trade, and I risked 1680. So 1680 was where I had my stop. So this is basically the trade. So at this point where we currently sit with that trade alert that I shared, we are sitting at a beautiful 3.4 to 1, meaning that my initial risk was right here, right? So I basically went long on gold on the day of the flash crash. As price started to retrace, I basically hopped in there with a calculated risk. I did not take a huge position on this. Obviously, in hindsight, I wish I did. I'd be really happy. But no, I took a reasonably small position on gold. Went long here as price basically retraced a little bit. I also found demand off yearly lows, which I'll show you guys in just a second. But yeah, price started to rally, jumped in there, risked just this move here back to 1680, but we never saw it again. We saw price continue and continue and continue. I've locked in a good bit of the trade with my stop loss here and looking to see if this thing wants to continue going into this next week. Now, again, this is going to be heavily dependent on dollar weakness. If we see dollar weakness, you may see gold move right on back up to 1830, which is a key spot. It sounds kind of ridiculous for price to come right back up there, but if you've been trading for a while, gold has done crazier stuff than that. So I would say before we get to 1830, however, that there is sort of a key spot of resistance here at 1800. That's a big psychological level. You've got 1800 on the books. You probably have a lot of short sellers who may be willing to try and take a stab at selling gold on the retracement there. So I would say keep an eye on that if you're looking at gold from a long perspective. You may get chances to take profits, or at least to look at the idea of retracement buys if you're long biased. And if you're a seller, like I said, I like this area. I think it has potential up there at 1800. Please remember, that's not financial advice. I'm just sharing my thoughts and opinions here. I'm not telling you, go take these trades, because there's a lot of times people who watch these videos who are new traders, and they are watching content for the first time, and they're like, he said it was going to go down at 1800. So I'll go take my whole life savings and put money on that. Like, please don't do that. I'm just sharing opinions. And the thing about markets is that although you may have an idea of what could happen and probabilities put in your favor, you never know with certainty what is going to happen. And that's why we have to manage risk. That's why we have to keep positions small. That's why we don't go all in on trades, right? We don't know with certainty what's going to go on in the markets. So anyways, like I said, I am long on gold at 1703, still holding my position. I've held it for an entire week. It has really, really run on my favor. And the plan is, if it wants to keep running in my favor, I will continue to hold that baby until it rolls over and finally takes me out for a profit. I do plan on trailing stops going into this next week. So for those of you guys who are already in the Discord, keep an eye on that. If you're watching gold with me, I'll be sharing some updates on my thoughts throughout the week. Okay, so with that said, let's see. Is there anything else we want to look at with gold? Well, I would say one more thing from a seller's perspective is that this level at 1800 also lines up pretty close with this 61.8% retracement. So it does look like a very interesting, and it depends, by the way, whoops, how did I draw this so wrong? That was my bad. I meant to draw this from down here. So actually, depending on how you drew the fibs, if you're a person that closes, if you're a fib retracement trader that uses closes, you've still got it up here, right? But if you're not, which is more how I draw it, just from the extremes, right? The high to the low, you've got this level here already being broken, which is actually really bullish for gold as a potential signal there. In the short run, you may see a little bit more of a pop here to the upside. But then, like I said, if you draw the fibs from the closes, right, you sort of have this scenario here where you've still got that 61.8 as sort of a level of defense for the bears there on gold. So that's my thoughts. By the way, I mentioned that I would talk about the yearly lows on gold. Sorry about that. I meant to point out this level here. This was part of the reason I took the trade. I called that out, like I said, in the Discord. Went long there on gold as price came just bouncing off of that level. Loved the idea of catching the yearly lows. And sure enough, it did rally off of that point. So good spot to be in. Cannot complain there on the gold market. Quick look at the S&P 500 here, continuing to push higher. I would say just be cautious when you get moves like this. There are occasionally massive drops that will happen. We've seen a couple recent dips that got bought very, very quickly. And so those were great buying opportunities. I actually bought both of these dips on the S&P 500, which were both really, really good trades for me. And then additionally, right, the other concept to think about is that if you do see a drop, I usually keep my stops fairly tight just in case this thing becomes a much steeper drop. There's been plenty of, situations in which, it looks really good, things are really healthy, and then you get these much bigger retracements, much bigger dips that are not just quick dips and runs. But again, that's where I use the stop loss to sort of try and mitigate that risk should we see deeper retracements. So with that said, guys, like I said, if you are not already in the Discord and you would like to get 25% off, you can come trade with myself and the rest of our team. We have traders from all around the world, whether you're from, Asia or Africa or Europe or Australia, North America, wherever you are. We have plenty of people that are from where you are from, almost certainly. We've got thousands of members from around the world. We've got a full staff of people that run our community, paid in time, full-time employees that sort of work really hard to make it the best community for traders in the world, in my opinion. Of course, I'm a little biased, but seriously, I encourage you to come try it out for a month, see if you like it, and you might stay for a longer time. So thank you so much for being here today, guys. Hope you have a great trading week. Stay safe, risk small, and we will see you back this week.